Yo, what is going on YouTube? It's Reed Boy on Twitch, back again with a #1 console player, multi-world record holder at the time of recording this console settings video, baby. We are absolutely flying in Warzone 3 Urzikstan. We have multiple world records, including the solo quads on Urzikstan Resurgence and the duos win streak at the moment that we're recording this. For Urzikstan, we are rocking almost a 9 KD with 12 kills per game, PR of 53 kills, top 10 on the overall wins leaderboard. So we have been absolutely grinding. And we are back with another console settings video, so I'm going to go right on into it and break down all the best settings that the #1 player on console uses that I recommend for you to use as well, baby. So let's get into it. Before we start, don't forget to subscribe if you guys have not yet. Make sure you guys are getting involved with all those insane, best, crazy gameplays that we got world records, high kill, 40 bombs, 30 bombs, insane clips. You guys don't want to miss that. Anyways, right into the settings. So I play on bumper jumper tactical setting. Even though I have a fancy scuff controller, make sure you use code REID, R-E-I-D, if you want to get one of your own. I have played on bumper jumper for almost 10 years now, and this is a beautiful way to play the game if you do not yet have a scuff controller, or if you can't afford one, can't convince yourself it's worth it to buy one. This is a fantastic alternative. Your main goal here, you never want to take your thumb off the aiming thumbstick. You never want to do that if you don't have to. This is a fantastic alternative. You can slide cancel and crouch and drop shot with the right thumbstick. You can jump with L1. You don't ever have to press X. You don't ever have to press circle to in the middle of a gunfight to hit some kind of movement, to slide cancel, to jump shot, to drop shot. The bumper jumper tactical, I heavily recommend that if you, or stick and move. Stick and move is another alternative if you do not want to get a fancy controller, I should say. What else we rocking? I play with controller vibration turned on. Almost anybody, anywhere, everywhere is going to tell you to turn it off. It's not worth it. I have never picked up a controller, played any game at all with without the controller vibrating, so it just doesn't feel right to me. I don't like it. I can't shoot straight without vibration on. I've had to send back controllers because they disabled the vibration. I can't be playing like that. So I got to turn on. Almost anybody's going to tell you to turn it off. You'll feel better, get used to it real quick, and it'll be worth it. I personally am not going to do that. So because of that, I play on the full haptics on the trigger effect as well. The dead zones, ideally you want your minimum dead zone to be just about as low as possible. They have a fantastic new tool where you can test your dead zones on your thumbsticks. Ideally you want your minimum to be as low as possible. As you can see, mine works perfectly fine. I've been using this controller for 7 months, 8 months almost now at this point. This controller has been absolutely through it. Went through the entire Vondel grind with world records and PRs. I went through the entire camo grind, multiplayer zombies, the Warzone grind as soon as Warzone dropped. This controller has been through it, used and abused, and it still, as you can see, works perfectly, picture perfect, fine. No issues at all. So that's a real nice tool. Ideally, if your stick is just minorly drifting a little bit, that's not that big of a deal. That is not need to change your settings. I do not recommend anybody ever change their settings drastically day in, day out. Pick a setting, stick with it. If you change your settings all over the place, that's why you might feel like some days your aim is on, some days it's not, because you're inconsistent, you're messing with the muscle memory. So if your thumbstick is just drifting ever so slightly, just a little bit, that is not that big of a deal. That is, just think about how often that would ever affect a gunfight. Just about never. So it is not worth it to change your settings and affect your aim in every gunfight for something that's really never going to negatively impact you. I have had controllers in the past where they just jerk randomly on their own. That's when it might be time to get a new controller. That can't really be fixed too easily by upping the dead zone, unless you can see your controller shifting, moving you completely on your own. Then you could try upping it a little bit, but again, I try to stick with the lowest dead zone I can get to, about a 0.3 or about a 3, and then the max, so you can get that maximum range of motion. We got 99 on both of them. And the button dead zones, I have the fancy digital triggers on my scuff, so it's not really needed. But both of my button dead zones are on 0. You want that, as you want the button to click as fast as possible. You want to get that essentially as fast of a reaction time as you can possibly get. On the aiming settings, I play on a 7 horizontal, 5 vertical, different vertical sense as horizontal. I don't necessarily recommend this for anybody anymore. The backstory behind this is back in Advanced Warfare, you know, Infinite Warfare, Black Ops 3, the jetpack CODs, when people were flying all over the place, up, down, left, right. You had to look all over in every single gunfight, to World War II, where I never had to look up more than to a 2nd story window, maybe a 3rd story. I was like, okay, I'm gonna turn my vertical sensitivity down since I don't need to be looking up and down super fast anymore. And I felt like that helped me a lot with melting people off of head glitches. It was really nice when all I could see was the tiny top of their head, and I had to make a very fine vertical adjustment. Helped a lot with that, and it also helped a lot with snipers trying to not get headshots, trying to not get hit markers, trying to get headshots, especially in Warzone. I feel like that helps a lot. That's part of why I refuse to change it, because my muscle memory is 10 years deep with this. It's very fine-tuned. And I don't really want to mess with that. If you're just starting and looking for some new settings, I don't necessarily recommend you copy that, because in Warzone you do have 30-story buildings, 5-story buildings all over the place. You have to constantly look up, people flying in the sky, looking down. You have to move vertically a lot more than you have in the past COD. So I don't necessarily recommend you copy that. You will see sometimes in my gameplays I struggle when I have to look up and look back down. It takes like 3 seconds to do that. It is a nightmare, but I still consider it to be worth it when my aim can be an absolute laser sometimes. I play on these sensitivity. I do not play on any sensitivity multipliers, actually. All these are standards. Axe stance sensitivity multiplier. This is more so for multiplayer than anything, but if you do ever find yourself needing to be tac stance, I don't want it to be on the full 1.0 that's essentially hip firing, and I also don't want it to be the 0.8 that's essentially aimed on sight, since you're usually only using tac stance closer ranges. So I've been playing with a nice middle ground of 0.9. I play on a linear response curve with default aim assist. That is my personal what I like the best. I always say there is not one of these that is better than the other. It is what you like more, what feels the best to you. I recommend you try them all out, especially if you're like looking for a new settings to go with. Try them all out, feel what feels best to you. I like the way linear works. There's some science behind it, and how the movement of your thumbstick affects how your guy moves, how your aim moves in game. There's some science, and I just like the way linear feels. Completely standard. It's essentially a straight line. You move your thumbstick a lot, your guy moves a lot. You move your thumbstick a little bit, your guy moves a little bit. Because it's on linear, I don't think the aim response curve, because there's no curve, it's just a straight line, I don't really think that affects anything too much. So I haven't really explored with this setting too much. I played with it on 0, I played with it on 1. Doesn't feel any difference to me on either one. Multiplier focus, we'll get to the ADS sense multipliers in a second. Those are right here. Custom sensitivity per zoom. These are where I change the ADS sensitivity multipliers. Anything that's considered a low zoom, low all the way to 5 times, 0.8. Anything that's considered a high zoom, your sniper scopes, 0.9. That's what I play on for that. I've got the transition onto instant. I want that shift to happen instantly. Again, aim assist is cranked now, baby. We've had a change of heart once Warzone 2 dropped. I started turning aim assist on back in Warzone 1. For anybody who didn't know, I turned aim assist off because aim assist is cheating and it's overpowered and it's broken. At least that's what all these mouse and keyboard really big streamers said. So I was like, back when I didn't know who any of them was, I was just trying to break into the scene. I was like, wow, I want to impress these guys. I want to look really cool. Then I learned throughout the course of Warzone 1 leading up to Warzone 2, I learned who a bunch of these mouse and keyboard players were, and I realized that they're a bunch of whiny ass little so mouse and crybabies, if you will. And I had a change of heart. I went from trying to impress them to now I've got the aim assist cranked all the way up. I want to make it my goal to make them whine and cry and bitch and complain even more than they already do. So aim assist all the way up, baby. Motion sensor behaviors, we do not play with that on. I actually heard that this messes with aim assist if you do turn it on, so make sure you keep that off to make them mouse and bitches cry some more. Gameplay, automatic tactical sprint. Now this might be different from my recent videos. In Warzone 2, ATS was not worth it. It was not worth it to run. There was no movement to be done. There's no ankles to be breaking, no slide canceling to do. Auto tac sprint was turned off. Now it is back to being on. Movement is back. You can do some crazy stuff. You can 1v4, slide cancel, break cameras. You can do it all over again. So ATS is definitely worth it. It is a struggle with shotguns and with akimbo guns, but it is definitely worth giving up the ability to use those, to their peak. Be able to have some insane movement with like SMGs, closer range, slide cancel left and right. Slide maintain sprint, that helps just keep the flow of the movement going a little bit. I tried turning this off and on. It doesn't really feel too drastically different. So this isn't like a major setting, but I got it turned on. Auto move forward off. If you do turn off auto tactical sprint, if you do want to turn it off, you just don't like the way it feels, single tap run is definitely a lifesaver. You do not want to, there's never a situation when you want to sprint forward, but you don't want a tactical sprint forward. That's never a thing. You always want to either be tactical sprinting or bot walking are your two situations. So single tap run is an absolute blessing. It saves your left thumbstick, but I heavily recommend it. It means you only have to click once to tactical sprint rather than double tapping your left thumbstick. Saves your thumbs, saves your thumbstick. Definitely worth it to use again if you don't like auto tac sprint. All the mantling stuff you want it turned off. You do not want those on. You don't want to be mantling in the middle of a gunfight. Now this is like a 50-50 setting right here. Originally I tried playing on slide only. The problem with slide only is it's got a lot of inconsistencies. You'll still dive even when playing on slide only. It does feel better to run around slide canceling on slide only, but it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it if, you know, 10% of the time you're gonna randomly dolphin dive when you don't want to. That just absolutely fucks up the entire flow of my movement, and I hate it. Cannot stand it. So I do not think it's worth it. So I give up that slight bit in responsiveness on slide only by playing tap to slide. It does also have the added benefit of dolphin diving off of some roofs. Gives you that little extra lunge in distance with the parachute. Again, ideally I would like to play slide only, but until they fix the thing where you can still dolphin dive even though you have dolphin diving turn off, until they fix that, it's just not worth it for me to run. So tap to slide is the setting I play on. Plunging underwater, you want to be able to do that freely. Automatic parachute, you do not want that on. I know if you have it on, you want to turn it off. You're gonna break your ankles. It happened to me. It happens to the best of us. It's just part of the learning process. You're gonna break your ankles a couple times, but it's so worth it to be able to get to the ground, pull your parachute that last second, and not be floating like a little sitting duck. You definitely want auto deploy on your parachute off. It is very worth it to have to get to the ground as fast as possible, to loot up, to not be a sitting duck floating in the sky. Not really weapon mount activation. You definitely want to have this on. I don't recommend you turning this off. Mounting with your gun, for anybody who doesn't know, that gets rid of recoil. It helps you be more of a laser beam. I don't like double tapping the ADS because there's time when I was spamming aim down sights and you don't want to be mounting on accident. I don't like just aim down sight auto mounting because that will just accidentally mount me when I don't want to too much. And again, you don't want to have it off. So the default best option to have is ADS plus melee. I do have an extra button on the back of my paddle. That is the melee button that I can use again on my SCUF controller using code READ if you want to get one of your own. That I can use to not have to take my thumb off the thumbstick to mount up. Anything else in here? Oh, prioritize interact. That's what was contextual tap back in Warzone 1. That's definitely an important setting to have, to be able to literally grab things off the ground as fast as possible. You want that setting on for sure, 100%. Again, that's prioritize interact. You can just tap it to pick up a big pile of loot very, very fast. That's how you know, streamers land back on their loot after just dying and pick it all back up in 1 second. They're instantly all loaded back up again, so you want that one for sure. Armor plate behavior, I had this on apply 1 when playing zombies. Apply all for sure. There's almost never a situation, just about never a situation, when you don't want to be fully armored up in Warzone. You always want to have full plates on, so you want to apply all. That way you don't have to unzip your vest, put in a plate, zip it back up, unzip it, put in another one. It's just way faster to apply all rather than having to run around holding the armor up button. I do not play on the stick backpack control. Again, I play on controller, so the backpack is a little bit difficult to navigate, but I'm so used to the directional buttons, I don't want to have to relearn the stick. I like it the way I am right now. Anything else here? That's manual fire behavior. So this is a setting that I've seen some people talk about. You can essentially shoot a semi-auto gun in full auto with this setting on hold. It is not worth it. It is not worth it to run. And if you can physically, you know, this is meant for some people that cannot just spam the trigger over and over. If you can physically continue to tap fire fast, this is not worth it to use. You will see your pistol, especially the spawn pistol that you use, shoots so much slower if you play it on hold. So you definitely want this to be on press. It's not worth it to use on some guns to give up the spawn pistol that you start with every single game. I believe this is a new setting that I haven't seen here. I believe this is a new setting that I haven't seen. I actually haven't explored with this too much. I'm just going to keep this on independent, what Akimbos have been on for, again, 20 years. No reason to change that one up. That is something interesting to try with. Anything else here that is interesting settings? Nothing really. That's it in the controller settings. On to the graphics. A lot of people do say that my gameplay looks way better than most of their PS5 gameplays. Looks on their own screen. The main thing I've got, one thing that you guys see that I don't see on my monitor, is my saturation is turned up ever so slightly, and then the sharpness is turned up. Again, that's for like the recording for stream. That's all for you guys. It's not what my game actually looks like. The sharpness is turned up ever so slightly, and again, the saturation is turned up a little bit. I've turned this on-demand texture streaming off and on. I notice zero difference at all. I'm playing on 1440p, 120 hertz. Doesn't look any different, doesn't feel any different to me. Again, I could be playing on 1080p, 60 hertz and still feel and look the exact same. That stuff is not that big of a difference, hence why I don't waste money on a PC. because it's not that big of a important shift. You definitely want all your motion blurs, your film grain, all this stuff turned off. Anything that's going to make your game blurrier or add that realism effect, you don't want that. You don't need that. I have swapped this fidelity FX off and on, back and forth over the last month. Have not noticed a single difference with this at all. So I don't know if this is something you could try turning off and back on your own and seeing if you notice a difference. Again, my game doesn't feel any better. It doesn't look any better with this off versus with it on. I have heard eco mode does mess with your aim assist. Don't know if that was just a past thing or just a rumor, if that's even true. I have no need for eco mode, so I've got that turned off. Again, I'm on the 120 hertz. FOV, now this is one thing I preach this all the time. Just because you can slide this FOV slider all the way up to the max does not make it worth it, bro. You should not be playing on 120 FOV for anything besides flashiness or style. It's the same as like max sensitivity. It is not worth it to be able to turn as fast as you can or to be able to see everything, 90 degrees to your left. To give up the consistency in the closer in the center of your screen, to be giving up that consistency. It's not worth it. There's a reason why all the best of the best Call of Duty players do not play on max sensitivity. There's a reason why they all play on something right in the middle, between 80 and 120, somewhere around 100. I say 90 to 110 is where you want to be. I go right in the middle. Realistically 95 to 105 is the sweet spot. I'm going right in the middle near 100, and I am just so quirky and so different that I can't be playing on the default 100. I got to be playing on that 99. We got to stay in the double digits, ADS field of view, you want that to be unaffected. Weapon field of view, you want this on wide. If you find that you're loading into games in multiplayer and your FOV is super bugged, super glitched, super zoomed out, this setting, changing this back to default, will fix that. I personally thought it was goofy and funny and liked the way it looked, so I kept that. It never bothered me. But that's why you'll see in like my MW3 camo guide videos why my FOV looks so weird. That's because the weapon field of view. You want your camera movements, make sure these are turned down to 50%, as low as you can go. I did the entire Orion grind in MW2 with this setting on default, didn't even realize it, wondering why my game was so shaky, and that's exactly why the camera was moving too much. You want this down to 50%. This is one of the best settings they ever came up with, bro. One of the best settings in all of Call of Duty, the inverted flashbang setting. Rather than absolutely burning my retinas every time somebody throws a flashbang at my screen, literally flashbanging me in real life, my screen goes pitch black. Beautiful, love this setting. It does scare you the first couple times. It makes you think your game crashes, makes you think something's broken, your monitor just went out. It's going to take a little bit of getting used to, but this is definitely a worth it setting to use if you do not want to get eye surgery by the age of 27. Anything else? Brightness is a little specific to your own monitor. I would, not absolutely white out, fry your screen to be able to see people in dark corners, but you do want to be able, again, to see. This is a little specific to your own monitor and your monitor or TV's brightness settings. Safe area, also same thing. That's specific to your monitor, TV, what that looks like. That's it for the graphic settings. Onto the audio. Now I know this game has got an absolute nightmare of audio. You got the PC nerds using that garbage sounding audio tune. All the console has to do to have just about the same thing. Soundbar. This is the secret. This is the secret to having the insane audio on console, is your soundbar setting. I don't know why. I don't know the nerdy technical stuff behind it, but the soundbar is what I found has the best footstep audio and allows me to hear people the absolute best in the new Warzone. I have recently switched my game volume up to 100 and just turned my headset volume. I have a mix amp that I can just use to turn the gameplay down. I've turned that down a little bit. I turned off the music volume, RIP, no more music volume for Reboy. We listen to footsteps nowadays. Dialogue, the voiceover, the guy announcing enemy UAV, doesn't say that anymore. Enemy dropping in, your teammates in the gulag. He talks a lot. So you kind of want to turn him down a little bit to be able to hear footsteps, but he does say some useful information, it's top 10 situation, enemy dropping in being the biggest one, so you definitely want to have him on. I believe effects is what I was told is the sound of footsteps, so you want that cranked up to the max. And then the cinematics and the war tracks, we've just got those cranked up. If I'm ever listening to music, we want it to be up to 100%. This never affects the gameplay at all. Voice chat, again, this is kind of dependent on how loud people in your party or in game chat are to you, but I've got this set down to 40. You still want to be able to hear people in game chat, specifically like prox chats, but you don't want them overpowering the sound of footsteps if they're too loud. You definitely do want prox chat on. That way you can hear if somebody is in prox chat, you know that there's somebody nearby. So you definitely want that setting turned on. Yeah, so I use Discord to call out to anything in-game to my teammates, so I don't ever need my in-game mic to ever be good. So I like the way it sounds. I like pissing people off. I think it's hilarious. We got all subtitles have been turned off. I have turned off subtitles because a bunch of people complained about them, and I thought it might be actually negatively affecting the stream. I didn't realize people had that big of a deal with subtitles, but they are off now. RIP, RIP. Mono audio, you want that turned off. Tinnitus sound doesn't bother me at all, so I keep that off. Doesn't affect me too much. I got my hit markers on classic sounds, war tracks on, Juggernaut music on. None of that's really that important. The interface settings, you can all subtitles off. The color customization, so this is another setting that affects how good my game looks. This only affects it a little bit. I've got all the customizable options kind of default. I didn't really want to mess with the colors too much. You can, if you want to change, you know, the colors of anything, whatever, you know, is identified as what color, you can totally customize that to your heart's desire. So many different options for colors. But the main thing we got here is the color filter. I've got it set to filter 2. This is color filter 2, target both. Main thing you want here is world. You want it at least to be in the world. And the intensity, you can have this anywhere from 50 if you want it to be not as poppin', all the way up to 100. I've got it set at 80. This is what will give my game that little slight extra pop to it. Makes the game look a little bit better. You know, this is what this is what might give my gameplay a little bit extra looking good compared to your gameplay, besides the saturation again, or the sharpness that I have just for the stream. So that is the color customization. Another very important setting here, you want your mini-map shape. You want that to be a square. You can see right there, it is literally bigger. You can literally see more of the mini-map with it set to a square. So you want that to be on. The compass, you want the compass to be on as well. I hear way too many people calling out, he's right there, he's over there, he's over there, he's to my left. Well, when you call out he's to my left, I gotta look up at my mini-map, I gotta figure out which guy is you, I gotta figure out which way is your left, and I gotta do that before you turn a different direction. So calling out in the direction is definitely way better. This is more of a BR thing than anything. Also, a little minorly unknown thing with the compass is, even if you guys don't have a UAV, not really as effective anymore. With red dots being back on the minimap when people are shooting, but red dots do show up in the direction of your compass if there's ever anything that's out of your red dot range on the minimap, I will say. Crosshairs are set to static. A lot of people said they didn't like the way my crosshairs move around when I walk around the map, so you got it set to static, but you do want them on. You want your crosshairs on. You want to know where the center of your screen is. Also want that crosshair dot to be on. You struggle with your centering. Especially if you struggle with your centering, and this is something to work on. My centering is fine. I don't even think about it. I don't even notice the dot is there because I've been playing COD for so long. I've just got very good centering to go with it. If you want to work on your centering, definitely focus on this dot and where it is on your screen, and you know, position it in the proper spot when you're turning around a corner. Definitely some good advice I would give, something for you to work on. Hit marker visuals, you want your hit markers on for sure. There'll be multiple times where I am shooting at somebody, I get a red hit marker, meaning I just killed somebody, and then I get a white hit marker after, meaning that somebody was so on top of their teammate that I got one kill but not both kills. So you definitely want the red hit markers to be on the damage based one, and you want hit markers on in general. You want to know when you're hitting your shots. Other than that, we have console players can now put on the telemetry, you know, the server latency and the packet loss. You can see your ping. See if the server's laggy or something like that in the top left of your screen. That is not a PC only thing anymore. Hasn't been for a couple years. But I've got those turned on. I don't need the clock turned on because I've got a clock right next to me. The connection meter is basically the same thing as the packet loss. You don't need that either. Other than that, that's about it for everything. The account and network, I got crossplay turned on. Always these hands are rated E for everyone. PC players are even more bots than PS5 players are nowadays, so no need to turn crossplay off. The only reason I would ever do that is in case I run into a ton of cheaters, which hasn't happened to me since Verdansk. Even though I do play with majority PC players, my crossplay is always turned on, even when I'm by myself. Other than that, that is about all that we've got. The #1 console player settings that he used to get to a 9 KD and almost 5 wins and a 53 game PR in Warzone 3 Urzikstan. So don't forget to drop a subscription, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We've got more banging gameplays, best class setups, working on an editor to get daily uploads on every single platform. So make sure you guys are involved with that. We've got a lot of really good games, really good games coming out over the next couple of days and weeks, and the grind is good. The grind is good this year. This game is fun, even with this new update breaking a ton of things. Overall, still a lot of positives and enjoyability and funnicity and stuff. Yeah, don't forget to comment. Let me know if there's any settings that you use that are just slightly different from mine. Any settings you recommend you want me to try. Don't forget to drop a like on the video, subscribe, have a great day, like J God says, and all that good stuff. Yeah,